have another chat to you. I've been thinking about some of the things that are said online. So this is, in comments. I'm not talking about specifically, content that people make. This is generally comments that people make who don't make content, they just make comments. So what am I talking about? Well, with regards to the John Ramsey case, what do you see a lot of, and what is it based on? Well, you've got comments about pedophile rings. And is this just wild imagination, or is there good reason for think that JonBenet suffered at the hands of organised pedophiles? It is completely possible, because the pedophile rings in Colorado and in Boulder are actually well documented. And Alex Hunter wasn't fond of prosecuting offenders for these sorts of crimes. He's got a record of not having a record of prosecuting. And a lot of Boulder's rich and privileged are known to be involved or to have been involved in the past in these rings, okay? These rings are real. You can look up things like You Light Up My Life. But yeah, Colorado, Boulder in particular, is known as a hotbed for pedophiles. So, okay, look, there could be some truth in this. This isn't just people being hysterical and looking at this beautiful little girl and saying, the Satanists got her. It is very possible that JonBenet was molested by people other than her parents, and also met her demise that way, with or without their knowledge. So that's number one. Number two you see a lot of is that the Ramseys were exonerated. Well, 2 years after Patsy Ramsey's 2006 death, John announced in 2008, well, Patsy would be smiling down from heaven now, and she'd be so pleased. What was he alluding to? He was talking about Mary Lacey and her letter to John Ramsey explaining that, they were not involved in the murder of their own daughter. So people hang on to this as if this is goddamn fact. And it's not fact, okay? It's not fact. It's fiction. It's fiction that was debunked in 2013. We still don't have all the information, but thanks to an intrepid and tenacious journalist, we have some of it. And what is this? Well, this is some of the documents pertaining to the indictment of the Ramseys. We don't have all the information, and will we ever have it? No. Why won't we have it? Well, I believe it's possible that one reason is that the way that John makes money means he doesn't have to sue anyone, which means that he doesn't have to have all the records come out. They're kept under lock and key by the departments, because they don't have to come out, because there's not going to be a court case battling this out, saying how dare you persecute us for so long. Why? Because his source of income stream when it comes to that sort of thing is his son Burke. Okay? CBS produced that pathetic 2-part series that so many people like to quote. It was Burke who done it with the torch. Parents covered it up. Now, So they get sued. They settle amicably out of court, okay, for an undisclosed figure. And then guess who else is CBS? Phil McGraw. Phil McGraw's CBS, and Burke goes on CBS and makes another pretty penny, and announcements about his lack of involvement, etc., etc., and pretty much Burke Ramsey is laughing all the way to the bank. And John Ramsey's always been able to turn a dollar. He likes to complain, I haven't been able to get a job since all of this. Really? Well, entrepreneur of the year. You know how to turn a buck, you know how to make a business. You weren't really starting from quite scratch. You make it sound as if your every last dollar went into finding your daughter. No dollar ever went into finding the killer of JonBenet Ramsey. It all went into protecting John and Patsy's reputation, protecting their money, protecting their freedom. It went into bullshit and jelly beans. John Ramsey never spent a dollar looking for JonBenet's killer. Okay, so he likes to say he lost his fortune and then he couldn't get a job. Decided to run for office in Michigan. That might have solved a few things. That's more arrogance, really, because I tell you what, John Ramsey is all about power and control. Power and control. This is him. This is him. This power and control tells you everything you need to know about John Ramsey. Now, power control. What is a garrote all about? What's a garrote all about? Power and control. Watching someone suffer. Taking control of them. It's a pretty specific weapon, isn't it? Would you choose to use it when covering up the murder of your child by accident? Really? Would you? A garrote sounds like something used in sexual sadism. A garrote sounds like something used to exercise power and control over someone. Who uses a garrote? Well, they've been used as an execution method for people sentenced to death. They've been taught in the military. It's taught to people being trained in the military. They are taught to use the things that they find around them in their environment to make this weapon, because you can easily overpower someone using it. You can control the way that someone's strength and life zaps out of them with it by pulling and releasing. Garrote itself, the garrote, the name, it comes from Spanish, and it is talking specifically about the stick, or about, you know, the thing that you wind the wire or the rope, etc. on. They're not always made with just single sticks, sometimes it's two, but you know, they're certainly something that's used in sexual sadist circles. It's used to torture, it's used to exert your power and watch the suffering, it's used to control. Okay, so that's the garrote. What else did I want to talk to you about? Well, the new Mrs. Ramsey. John these days, he's very, shrug, just getting on with my life. I'll never know. You know, long forgotten his crusade, his pledge, his vow to never stop searching for JonBenet's killer. Okay, so John Ramsey has never done anything to look. All he does is promote his innocence, say how hard done by he is. It was his daughter that lost her life. And who should he marry? He meets in Denver at a wedding a woman, the spitting image of his daughter JonBenet. Her name is Jan Rousseau. Jan Rousseau is kind of like this costume designer. Do you know what she creates? From their business in Las Vegas? Yeah, showgirl outfits, tacky showgirl outfits. She calls them costumes. And what other types of costumes? Tacky cowgirl costumes. Not my aesthetic. I'm talking about, lots of short skirts and fringing and bright colours, that sort of thing. I do like how she uses the Nevada prison system and the inmates to make some of her clothing. I think that's pretty cool, not sort of my aesthetic, but the maybe it used to be the leather vests and lace leather and denim together, and that's sewed into one of her brands, sort of a motorcycling brand. But really, you look at a couple of the items that she makes and promotes, and they look exactly like pageant circuit outfits, and in particular they look like ones that little JonBenet made quite famous. Yeah. She says that she is the best man she's ever known, and she really quite likes him. And John on his part is quite chuffed. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. She's now blonde and she's got quite an interesting haircut and an interesting look. She's petite and hey, not saying there's anything necessarily creepy about it. Going back to the pornography, people also like to say online in comments, etc., and in forums, there was no porn found on John Ramsey's computers, etc. Well, that might be the case with things taken from his home, but it's alleged, and I tend to think there's truth to this rumour, it's alleged that a lot of child pornography was taken off Access Graphic computers. Now we get back to Access Graphics and another theory that flies around, and I think, look, theories can spontaneously erupt in many different minds at different times from, and people all over the world, but I think really the source of this theory that people come up with, and I've talked about it myself, is that, okay, so John was caught by Patsy abusing JonBenet, perhaps garrotting her while he sexually abused her, and Patsy just thought, this time enough. Finally, the southern wildcat comes out and she grabs a bat and she swings at John's head and hits JonBenet. Where did this originate? Well, I believe this originated with a lady called Diane, who worked for the Ramsey Company, Access Graphics. She was an assistant to John's right-hand woman, an assistant who was there to field all the calls and the letters about the case that came into Access Graphics. Her name was Laurie. Not spelled L-O-R-I, it was L-A-U-R-I. And Diane says, now this is a few degrees of separation, okay? So all it means is that Diane, okay, first, sorry, let me tell you. So Diane says that she had a conversation with the secretary at Access Graphics who said she fielded a call from a woman who said that Patsy Ramsey accidentally hit JonBenet on the head with a bat when trying to defend her from John Ramsey's attack. Now, this was in January 1997. Diane took some polygraph tests. People who are innocent fail them, people who are guilty pass them. Polygraphs are not science, they are useful tools, and that is all. Anywho, she took this polygraph test by a world-renowned polygraph expert and administering expert, and was deemed to have passed reasonably convincingly. But all this means is that she had a conversation possibly with a woman who says she took a call. Okay, so it doesn't mean that this is true. It doesn't mean that this woman had the phone call. It just means that someone talked to Diane about someone calling in and making these accusations, okay? That's all it means. So that's where that comes from. Where do you think JonBenet died? Do you think she died before she got home? Do you think she died in her room? Do you think she died in the basement? Do you believe that it was Patsy who made all those calls? Because actually, after the 911 call, it was John that rang Fleet White. Patsy did want to pass to there. Lazarus raised my daughter. Maybe she didn't want to be alone with John. They didn't seem to spend much time together. Another quinky dink between the Ramseys and the McCanns, and I haven't made that video yet, maybe I will. It's the missing time. You know, McCann went missing for about 30 minutes during the initial search for his disappeared daughter, taken daughter Madeline. And James Bogart suggests that McCann is the Smith man sighting as he took Madeline's body away from the resort down toward the seaside. So Ramsey was also missing for a period of time before the 1 p.m. flight down to the basement. Where did he go? And what went with Burke? What went with Burke to the Whites? He was interviewed there immediately by police. Did they check his luggage? That's what I want to know. Is that in the indictment? Is this why John Ramsey himself doesn't actually pursue any serious legal action, okay, for defamation, etc.? I think he quibbles with individuals or something, but he doesn't go after anything for any reason that would mean records are unsealed and that all the documents are released. In 2013, we only got partial part of the indictment. It's not everything, and there's a lot that we don't know still that the grand jury did know, and the police knew. And speaking of the police, well, John's lawyers and Boulder DA being so cozy, when the Boulder police got sick of this and cut the Boulder DA off, what happened? Police computers were hacked. I wonder who could do that, hack a few computers. I wonder if a forward-thinking computer company could have hackers. Yeah, makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know, the pedophile rings around, the computer hacking, the people nearby, say in Fort Collins, who are convicted of computer-related crimes to do with child pornography. That's quite close to Boulder. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, just all I'm saying, you know, make up your own minds, right? Make up your own minds. I'm not an investigator. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that I am coming up with anything new. This is all just my point of view about things to do with the murder of little JonBenet Ramsey. Because just like Madeleine McCann, she's never had peace, she's never had respect and justice in life from her very family, from the people that should be fighting for her. Don't you think it's queer? I mean, maybe she's just very, very reserved and she just lets out the emotional expression when it's needed, you know, on camera. But Patsy Ramsey, an ovarian cancer sufferer and survivor and then sufferer, and it caused her demise. But, you know, in Atlanta, when they'd first sort of moved there, she's on film picking up this little bird's egg, this vulnerable little bird inside, dead. And she's just looking at it, fascinated. Oh wow, would you look at that? Oh my, you know. This seems so disconnected, because here is a woman, this vulnerable, pathetic little dead baby bird who never had a chance in life, should move her. It's an egg. She's had ovarian cancer. Her fertility's gone. One of her babies gone. She's never going to replace JonBenet, or have, you know, you can't replace people, but you know, I mean, have another female child, or another child for that matter. And she's holding this little egg, and you don't even see anything sort of wash over this undercurrent of deep emotion. You don't see anything pass before maybe something else comes on, you know. It's just this complete, it's so detached. So, you know, we've still got a lot to discuss. Who's involved, who knew what when, why would a couple stay together, you know? Is it self-protection? Is it because of shame, status, money, power, control, fear? You know, what is it? Why? You know, this is a question that a lot of us ask, isn't it? Why then? If one or other of the Ramseys knew that one or the other was guilty on their own or something, you know, why isn't one or other just in prison and the other moving on with life? It's interesting, isn't it? What do you think? I've got a few ideas, but it's harder to discuss those things in a way. But you know, looking at their backgrounds, looking at what created them, who they are, what they value in life, yeah, it's interesting. But you know, John Ramsey should be making huge moves, the last pronk before death, to find this killer. And what does he ever do? Come on and say how happy he is, how he's finally got hope in life, he's looking forward just to this end phase. Shrug. You'll never know. Shrug. It's all in the past. Yeah. Alright, speak to you later.